I'm really getting first-hand exposure to the Sandveld. Sometimes the bike wants to take its own direction. Good morning and welcome back to Vander's View channel. I'm just departing here from the Elands Bay Hotel in Elands Bay on a beautiful morning. If you didn't see how I ended up in Elands Bay, please make sure to go and have a look at the previous video, because that was a few trips that I did yesterday. But yeah, what is the destination for today? The final destination for this trip today is Leipoldtville. The route will take us to Lamberts Bay, and then from then on I will turn inland to Leipoldtville. Yeah, so now we did turn away from the sea a little bit, but now this road is taking us back to the sea and all the way to Lamberts Bay. But there is a place where I want to make a stop, and this is the Gerrit Farmer Burger Memorial. I don't know much about it, but apparently Farmer Gerrit Burger was a prominent person in this area, and from what I could gather, he was a staunch environmentalist and was very much in favor of protecting this area. This place at the sea, I think, is a commemoration to him, because it's also been recognized by the surface of this region that he was always kind to them and provided them with accommodation and so on. So I don't know much more, but let's make a stop here, because apparently there's quite a nice break here for surfing. It's about 1 kilometer from here. Now, as you can see, we are right next to the sea at the moment. Yeah, apparently this is the place, the Gerrit Farmer Memorial. I'm not sure if there's really anything to to see. I just made a stop here at the Gerrit Farmer Burger Memorial. You can see this is a prominent little bay with a break here, probably for very nice surfing. So he must be quite a big figure in the surfing community. He apparently passed away in 2017. So this memorial is then dedicated to him. But just look at this beautiful little beach. I'm of course doing this trip again with my Honda CRF Rally, the 300. This bike is just a joy to ride, and yeah, I will tell you more. I realized in the previous video I didn't tell you an aspect of accessories or modifications that I did, and I will talk a little bit more about my gear in this trip and also the few videos that will follow. So I will make sure to introduce you to some of my equipment, especially what I do for my recordings and sound to be successful. So I will share with you what I've learned. Let's go. So it's indeed a beautiful little break here in this bay at the Gerrit Farmer Burger Memorial. Let me just try and get out of this little steeper part here. All good. Lamberts Bay should not be more than another 10 or 15 kilometers to go. We're now approaching the Skerm. So the Skerm is quite a well-known seaside, almost like an open-air restaurant. It is like a shelter built here with bushes. But as I understand, you can get very nice seafood here. So at certain times they prepare the food, but at the moment it looks, yeah, of course closed, but this is the Skerm. It is just about 6 kilometers before one reaches Lamberts Bay. Welcome to Lamberts Bay. We've made the crossing successful now from Elands Bay. So I will make my way down to the harbour area just to have a bit of a look. But yeah, Lamberts Bay is not a very big town, but it's also, like all West Coast towns, it's got a very strong fishing history. It's a bit of a sleepy town on a Sunday morning. Today is the 27th of April. It's a public holiday also in South Africa, so I don't expect to see lots of activity. And it's still relatively early, just 17 minutes past 8 now. I really hope I will be able to find some coffee somewhere. I've not had a morning coffee. It seems like I missed the harbour because there is the harbour wall and also Bird Island. But maybe just to talk a bit about Lamberts Bay, where did the name come from? The name comes from a certain Admiral Lambert that was surveying this bay for marine naval purposes from 1826 to 1840. So it is simply named after Admiral Lambert. And yes, this harbour and bay also played an important part for the British during the Anglo-Boer War, where they used this harbour as a layover for British supplies to supply the war effort. So yeah, it's also got that link to the Anglo-Boer War. I'm just looking to here is the harbour. I've just missed the turn off. This is the harbour area. And the famous restaurant here is, of course, Isabella's. So if you want wonderful seafood, Isabella's here at the harbour is the place to be. And here in front of us is Bird Island, the large population of, I think it's the Cape Gannets that you will find here. Let me see, it seems Isabella's is open. Let me see whether I can get a cup of coffee there. I made a stop here at Lamberts Bay Harbour here at Isabella, so I had a chat with them. They are indeed open. They're going to make me some coffee, so I'm just going to have a seat here at the table outside and just enjoy my morning coffee. And then I'm thinking of visiting Bird Island, but let me just check whether I can get in. But first, coffee. Is this your name?
Ek is Amber.
Amber. Baie dankie, Amber.
Dis nie.
Dit is nou 'n bonus. Ek het net weet julle maak so vroeg oop nie.
Ons maak 8 uur in die oggend.
By timing goed.
As meneer enige diens nodig het, kan meneer net die bel.
Okay. Baie dankie. Ek waardeer. Amber brought my coffee, a nice jumbo cappuccino. So I'm just going to enjoy this now at Isabella's. Yeah, so I spoke to friendly Amber there at Isabella's restaurant, and she said she will keep an eye on my motorcycle. So I was just going to take a walk here onto Bird Island to go and have a look at the Cape Gannets and the crowned cormorants. So I'm now on the walkway to Bird Island here from the harbour in Lamberts Bay. So this walkway, yes, is man-made. So this Bird Island was in fact an island in the past, but this walkway was built in 1959. So I think maybe it's a clever idea to connect the island, because the reason of interest for this island was, of course, guano collection that played a big part in the history for fertilizers, of course. And this guano was, let's call it, collected from this island since 1888 and only stopped in 1990. So I suppose having a walkway or a connection to the island just made it much easier, but that also brought its problems, because now suddenly cats could get to the island and I suppose be quite negative to the bird population on this island. But I can tell you there are a lot of birds here, and most of them are the Cape Gannets, so we'll see them shortly, but there are hundreds and thousands of them. Yeah, so here you can clearly see the walkway, and there across is Isabella's restaurant, where I just had my lovely coffee. It's a beautiful small little fishing harbour. You really get the authentic fishing feeling. Well, of course the smells as well from these west coast fishing towns. And Lamberts Bay is probably one of the most well known. Its first crayfish factory was opened already in 1918. So yeah, crayfish, that's what you get lots of here in the west coast. So I'm not sure if you can see it already, but the birds are well, it's covering Bird Island, so I suppose it's not called Bird Island for nothing. So the two main birds that you get here, the two main species, is the Cape Gannet. Those are the white birds with the yellowish heads, and then also the crowned cormorant. I'm not sure what it looks like, but we'll have a look. I suppose this is a whale bone, the jawbone, yes, of a whale, which now serves as a bench. But let's first go to this lookout in front. I think one needs to steel yourself for the smell that comes with all these birds. Just look at it. Hallo, hallo. Kan ons opgaan ook? Dankie, dankie. Yo, here one is getting a very beautiful view of these birds through the glass of this hideout. Now that is a lot of birds. So these are all the Cape Gannets. They've got a yellowish tint on their heads. So these are all the Cape Gannets. I asked the guy here, the crowned cormorants are a bit closer to the sea, so it's more difficult to see them. And then when I read up about Bird Island a bit, they talked about some penguins also being on the island, up to 60 penguins. But I checked now, apparently there are no penguins left anymore on Bird Island. It's unfortunate, but yeah, it was a place where penguins also frequented this island in the past. So there's another more modern building here, which is like an exhibition center. So I'm just going to have a bit of a look. Oh, the Cape Fur seal skeleton here. No, this is a very neat exhibition center here on Bird Island. It's well worth a visit. It costs 45 Rand to come and visit Bird Island. I think it is well worth it. No, this is a skeleton of a Cape Gannet. You can see the fine little bones on the skeleton. Just making this beautiful walk back to the harbour of Lamberts Bay. The trip is now continuing to the final destination, and that is Leipoldtville. Now Leipoldtville is about 29 kilometers from Lamberts Bay, and we are also now leaving the sea behind. We will not be returning to the sea in the remainder of these trips. Let me just make a stop first to fill up the bike. All filled up and ready to proceed out of Lamberts Bay. So we're just now leaving Lamberts Bay on the R364 for Leipoldtville, which is about 32 kilometers away. Now this road is leading straight away from the sea inland. Oh, the wind has picked up quite a bit, but this is all part and parcel of the west coast, these windy conditions. there in the distance you will see some dunes, which is quite far inland, probably quite a good 10 kilometers almost. There's quite a big dune field. That maybe is just an appropriate way to introduce us to the Sandveld, and this area is called the Sandveld, and I suppose it's quite sandy soil and conditions, but apparently it is excellent for producing potatoes. So this is a major potato producing area in South Africa, and the little town of Leipoldtville is also known for potato production. Yeah, potato country. The mountains there in the distance is just fantastic. That is the start of the Cederberg. We are really not far away from the Cederberg now. Okay, this is the turn off to Leipoldtville. Yeah, suddenly much more quiet. I'm heading with the wind now. That is nice. It's only 10 kilometers down this road, then we will be at the quaint little town of Leipoldtville, and I will tell you more about that little town when we get a bit closer. Now we are very close to Leipoldtville now, only about 2 kilometers. So it is obviously situated here at the foot of this, well, let's call it a small mountain in front. Okay, so now we just need to cross the R365 to enter Leipoldtville. So this is the shop. Yeah, Leipoldtville is a very small little town here in the Sandveld. I mistakenly assumed that Leipoldtville was named after the famous C. Louis Leipold, the Afrikaans author, dramatist and writer. But no, this town is not named after C. Louis Leipold, it's actually named after his father, which is known as Friedrich Leipold. So Friedrich Leipold was a minister of the Dutch Reformed Church, and yeah, the town is named after him. But it's very much a town that is serving the farming community in the area, and a major potato producing area, and this is what Leipoldtville is quite famous for. Given that this is a Sunday morning, I can see the cars parked around the church, so probably a number of people in church this morning. But yeah, it looks like quite a modern church. I have no more information about it, but it was established already in 1905, so this is when this town came about, and it's very closely linked to the town of Graafwater, which is just down the road in the R364 where we came from. Yeah, sleepy little town, few people in church this morning. Before I go further, let me turn around. I just want to see what the other side of the town looks like. As I said, it's mainly one dusty street that constitutes this town, or maybe two. Let me just ride along this little track and see what we can see of Leipoldtville. But it's very sandy tracks. I think it is doing its name good, the Sandveld. I think it is really sandy fields and areas. Okay, so Leipoldtville is continuing a bit on this side, on a smaller road. So this is an algemene handelaar. So this is the general store in Leipoldtville called Johnny's Store. But this is the beautiful house here. Look at it. Beautiful thatched roof house. Yo. I'm not sure. Even the barn of this house is beautiful. Not sure whether this is a private road, but let's just take a bit of a ride down here. It feels more like farm than anything else. There seems to be an old ruin here. Yeah, it is indeed a ruin. And maybe this is the Leipoldtville Dam. I'm probably going a bit further than I planned now, but let me just find a place to turn around. It's quite sandy. Very, very, very sandy. I'm really getting first-hand exposure to the Sandveld here outside of Leipoldtville. Just keep the momentum to find a place to turn around. Sometimes the bike wants to take its own direction. Yeah, keeping this bike up in this very loose sand is not that easy. Yeah, was not expecting this. Yeah, it is very, very loose here. This is pure sand. Dry sand. Okay, let me just try and turn around here. Yeah, it's not so easy. I will have to go a bit further just to make the turnaround. Okay, there in front is a little bit of green grass. I should have more grip to just make a turn around there. Ah, this is a bit better. Okay, let me just head back. This was a bit unexpected. Okay, I think I made it out of the worst. Whew. This was difficult, so I mean I didn't intend to go that far down the sandy path, but once I got going I had to go on because there's just no way of turning around on that path. There's quite a workout to do that kind of riding. So I think I'm just going to make a stop here in front in town if I can find a shady spot. Let me make a stop here under the tree. Yeah, so I made a stop now here in the sleepy little town of Leipoldtville. Yeah, that sandy road was a bit unexpected and I had to go a bit further down it, but hopefully that gives you a first-hand exposure to the Sandveld. Just glad I got out of it without letting the bike fall over. But this again shows, I mean, if I'm suddenly confronted unexpectedly with some conditions, the chances are good that the CRF 300 Rally will be able to do it. So it's more about the capabilities of the rider rather than the capabilities of the bike. As I said, I will talk a little bit more about some of the equipment I use on the bike and also to do the recording. So let me introduce you now to how I manage to do the sound while I'm riding. So the talking that I do while I ride, so obviously it's a setup in the helmet to have a camera and a microphone connected in the helmet. Some of you have asked me how to do it. Some of you actually expressed some frustration in your comments about not getting the setup right, and I must say this is not something that is so obvious. I had to do a lot of testing and trying different conditions, trying different things, because it's not only about connecting a microphone, it's also about getting the right setting on the camera for this. So let me introduce you to my setup. I just put my helmet here to show you. So as I showed in 2 videos back, I'm using the DJI Action 4 Osmo camera. Now to connect the sound up, there's of course a connection to the side. The first piece of equipment you need is this TRS connector cable. It's a Boya cable. It's called Boya. It's got a female 3.5mm microphone jack on this side, and then it's a Type C connector on this side. So Type C is necessary because the DJI Action camera's got a Type C port there. So this is to easily connect it there. And of course the microphone jack is now to connect the microphone. You cannot see the full microphone, but this is a Rode LAVGO Lavalier microphone jack. So it's got the 3.5 connector on this side, and then it's got the actual microphone on quite a lengthy cable. But the way I set it up is I put it inside the helmet, so you cannot see it. It's within the lining of the helmet, but there you can see a part of the cable sticking out, to put the microphone in the end rear right where my mouth is. So you can see it's completely covered. I put a little cloth over it, I pull it together there, and it's also got a little muffler over the edge. So I will show you what the muffler looks like, because I've got another one like this. So let me just show you. It's actually the one I'm using for this very video. So you can see, if I bring it up, there is the little muffler part of the microphone. So the one in the helmet looks exactly the same, and I put it there where my mouth speaks. I keep it quite close to my mouth, and that is the setup. So you need, what I'm using is the Boya TRS cable. Very important. This is quite an expensive piece of equipment. So what I will do is I bought it from Takealot. I will put the link to Takealot there if you want to go and have a look. The same with this Rode LAVGO. It is broadcast quality microphone. This is also quite expensive, and I will put the Takealot link from where I bought it. And I think the thing that I realized is that if you want to make videos that has relatively good quality, you want to make sure that your sound is good, and this gives me the capability of having good sound while I ride. But just connecting up this cable and the microphone is not enough. You need to go and look at your sound gain settings in the setup of the camera. Sound gain, as I understand it, it determines how much of the sound that you can actually hear depending on how far away the sound is. So of course what you want for a setup like this is you want most of the sound concentrated very closely to the microphone. That is what you want to pick up, because if there's too much noise, the motorcycle is making quite a big noise, then it will drown out your sound of your voice. So I use a gain setting on this camera of -8. That means lots of sound outside of or far away is not part of this, and I had to play around quite a bit because the sound gain is quite sensitive. If you, for example, the one that I'm speaking in now is at a gain setting of 0. It means that sounds that are far away, maybe even the sounds of the wind in the trees, you will hear it. But on a gain -8 setting, like I have here, you will not hear that sound really, or it will be very faint. So that is the setup I'm using. Hopefully this helps you to understand how I do it, because I did get some people telling me the sound is quite good. I sometimes struggle, especially at high speed when there's lots of wind noise on the helmet. Sometimes I need to edit a little bit away during the editing phase, but overall it is working for me. As I said, I will put the links to the equipment. Please go and check it out, and please let me know what you think of my sound setup and whether you've got some other tips even for me to improve on this. This then also brings me to the end of this part of the trip from Elands Bay to Leipoldtville. Of course, we made that lovely stop in Lamberts Bay at Isabella's restaurant at the harbour. Had a good look at Bird Island. Fascinating place to go. I can highly recommend it. But yeah, I'm stopping this video here. Of course, I'm continuing from Leipoldtville to very interesting destinations. So please stay tuned for the next video to catch up with that. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And then until the next video, which will come very soon. Bye bye, keep well.